Welcome to From Content to Clients. I'm your host, Sydney O'Brien, and this show is for busy service-based business owners who do not have time to keep throwing content at the wall and hoping it leads somewhere for their business. Here, we talk about smarter content making, stronger messaging, and how to create content that actually helps your business get clients, especially if you are working in small chunks of time. Welcome back to another collab episode with Stacy from Cozypreneur and Sydney from, I just forgot the name of my own podcast because I just changed it from Content to Clients. We're super excited because we're doing like an Ask Me Anything type of podcast today. And we have some really good questions that I'm excited to dig into. But as always, in case anyone here is new and doesn't know Stacy, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yes, I am a copywriter. I write for solo and small business owners and help people keep people's attention and get more conversions because that is the challenge right now.
Yeah, I feel like keeping attention is like a big challenge right now.
I know, and it's so tricky. I think we'll get into it with one of the questions that we have. But yeah, how do you step outside the box?
Yeah. So do you want to read the first question?
Yes. Okay. Here's the first question. So as we all know, love it or hate it or messy relationship with it, AI is having a big impact on our lives. And unfortunately, it stole our awesome writing styles and is now mimicking it. And now I'm constantly being told by clients and agencies I work for that something sounds like AI, even when I wrote it. How do we manage this? It sounds like we're just in for a never-ending cat and mouse game. Like I don't use em dashes anymore. I don't use shorter sentences a lot of the time or single lines. One client asked me to not use friction or bottleneck or layer because they feel like AI to them. Maybe we're just in the messy middle, but it feels really frustrating. Even in cases where it hasn't taken all of the jobs and clients, it's feeling really difficult to write right now. I feel that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that one hits. It sucks too because like so much AI that's out there is bad, but it's all because it lacks a lot of like depth and nuance, and we talked about that in a previous episode. But it is also trained on human writing, so it's inevitable that at some points it's going to sound like us, or we will sound like it.
But it's also trained like not only on good human writing, but also on bad human writing. Yeah. So, and then it just like takes these like structures that were good human writing and it just like overuses them so much that they became bad human writing.
Yeah.
It's very tricky.
It is.
Have you heard this from clients at all?
I haven't actually.
Yeah, I haven't had clients complain about AI yet. I feel like a lot of my clients don't care as long as they're like getting the results that are like, I don't really care. But I've also moved away from using AI. So I feel like I haven't had any pushback on like, your writing sounds like AI. But I think what I would do in this situation is like, one, make sure that there's some sort of messaging and voice guide that you're using with your client and making sure that that's up to date so that when clients are pushing back, you can be like, hey, actually, we've already decided on this. It's inside your messaging and voice guide. Like if you'd like me to update it, then I can do that. And then you can figure out how you want to scope that out if it's like an additional fee. But I would create some sort of guide that you can refer back to and have one for each of your clients. And that's something that I do for all of my done for you clients. Like, I'm like, you have to start there. Unless you already have a voice guide, like a brand messaging and voice guide that I can use, like that's the first step before you write your website, before I do launch copy for you. Because one, it gets people on the same page and it just sets expectations.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't like write those for my done for you clients, but they normally come to me with them already in like their branding stuff. So that's good to have for sure.
Yeah, I know. And it's frustrating, right? Because you're like, but I wrote this myself.
Yeah.
But I think you just have to be like, okay, you don't want those words. I'm adding it to your brand voice guide. And then when they push back, you have something there.
Yeah. And also holding firm to any other boundaries as far as like how many revisions and like edits, whatever you've outlined in your agreement. Don't feel bad about sticking to that either.
I know. These are like the hard parts that nobody talks about of like writing for clients.
Yeah.
When you're like, actually, you need to pay me and I'm done doing revisions for you. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Yep. Stick to those boundaries.
But yeah, I feel like as a writer, to try to not get too hung up on like what AI is doing and not doing, which is hard because I keep seeing these posts on LinkedIn that are like 25 things that point to an AI written content. And it's like, we have the M dash, like it had like ellipsis on there, like 3 dots. I'm like, are you kidding me? Or like writing in threes. And like, those are just good writing techniques. And I think you just have to be creative about how you're using them and not falling into the same structure as AI.
Yeah. I never assume any of those things are AI like on their own, but if it's like all of them repeated and using like those same sentence structures that like AI spits out constantly, like over and over again, I'm like, okay, yeah. Um, but on its own, like an M dash, ellipses, we're fine. This
We're
is
fine.
normal grammar, people.
Yeah. And so, like, I think just like when you're writing, like if you're a copywriter or content writer, like the structures, but it's almost like the rules. So now you can break the rules. Whereas AI has created this box of like what copywriting is or what like content writing is. And so you kind of have to like use your expertise and what you know and then step out of that box because that is the other piece that I kind of touched on earlier of like, how do you keep people's attention? If you're using the same structures that AI is giving you, people are glazing over it because they're seeing them all the time. And so it's not new information. It doesn't capture their attention. And so how can you like play around with it and be creative and do the things so it does stand out and it doesn't feel robot-y?
Yeah. And I think for like content, social media type content specifically, sometimes that means not relying on trends because they all kind of end up being surface level and sounding the same. And any writing at all, making sure you always know whether you're writing for like yourself or for clients, like the differentiator for them, for their people, as opposed to like anyone else who does what they do. Like honing in on that is what's going to make a difference.
Yeah, because that's the stuff AI can't do, right? Like it can't do your messaging. Like I always think about like a bell curve. AI is going to always put you in the middle of the bell curve. But if you're trying to sell things, you don't want to be in the middle of the bell curve. You want to be at the end of the bell curve. You want to be the early adopter. Like that's where like the thought leadership comes in. And that's why people choose you because they want to follow you. I think the other thing too with AI is like when you're playing around with it, sometimes I'll like use it for something. And then the next day I'll go back. I'll be like, oh, this is pretty much in my voice. This sounds good. I'll read it back. It's not bad. And then I'll come back to it a day later and I'm like, oh, that actually doesn't sound like me at all. Like that. I thought it sounded good, but now that I'm revisiting it, it doesn't sound good at all. And so I think like one thing is just like reading it out loud, especially
Mm.
this is a little bit harder if you're writing for clients, but if you're writing for yourself, just reading it out loud and being like, do I actually sound like that? Are those words that I would actually use in a real conversation? Because it's like, it's really good at tricking you and sounding good, but not actually saying anything.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna have to use that tip, the reading it out loud thing. I don't normally do that. I normally like write it and I'm like, I don't know, I might look at this again, I might not. For myself, I swear I'm better about my clients, but for myself. Another thing I was just thinking of is I recently sent out a proposal and I made sure to include in there, like, I'm not going to use AI in your content. So if it's a new client, you could include something like that so they know. I mean, I guess they could still like accuse you of it, but you have another thing to fall back on. Like, nope, it's me. Told you it would be, and it is.
Yeah. I'll shout out Emily Gertenbach because she has an AI policy that's on her website. And she did a really good job of outlining how she uses AI in her business, which is not at all really, but then explaining to clients like why she's
Mm,
not using it and kind of her thought process behind it. It's really interesting watching what AI is doing to the online space because I feel like there's like two camps of people. There's like one camp of people that are like, I am done. I'm not using AI. I will still use it sometimes, but I cancel my membership. So I get like 5 free messages a day. And then I'm like, okay, we're done. I'm just going to write this myself now. And then you have the other people who are like, all of the people starting businesses around AI that are like, we're going to create AI XYZ to help you, whatever. And it just feels so polarizing.
I feel like it definitely is. I actually saw a post today or yesterday. I don't know. Time is blending together in my brain. But someone who was like, I actually added to all my contracts that like neither party will use AI. I can't remember if she was like a content creator or like a copywriter or something, but some aspect of her job was writing for clients. And she similarly was like, people were filling out intake forms using AI and then getting mad that like what I was giving to them wasn't good because what they gave to me wasn't accurate and stuff like that, which makes sense.
Yeah. And it's like if you're writing content for somebody, that messaging piece, like the voice of customer behind it, your actual leadership behind it, that's what's going to make the content really good. So you have to have those actual conversations. Like you need to take the time if you want something to come back really good.
Right. Someone can't come up with that on their own, just pulling it out of thin air.
We're not mind readers.
No. And I tell people like in my intake forms, like you can brain dump. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. It can be rambling. That's fine. But I prefer it be you. I would
Yeah.
rather pull things out of like random sentences.
I've also seen like people taking, this hasn't happened to me luckily, but like people taking content that copywriters or content writers have written and then running them through AI and then giving them feedback based on what the AI says. And it's like, trust your copywriter,
That would
man,
drive me nuts.
right? And so maybe that's also part of the contract
Yeah.
agreement that to think about. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
like this whole new area of whole layer of crap we have to deal with now.
Yeah, because then it's like extra time being like, nope, actually, I wrote it this way for this reason, and my way is better. Anything you put into AI, they're going to find something to nitpick. And like, because that's what it does. It's always going to have some kind of suggestion, whether it's good or not, and it will go on forever. It's never going to be like, nope, this is perfect, keep it. And it's never going to completely understand the goal. Like,
That's what it was designed to do. It was
yeah.
designed to keep you engaged and to keep chatting so that they can eventually enshittify it and fill it with ads and you can just be sold to.
Yay, capitalism.
Fun times, fun times.
The best.
I really feel like the other piece of it is it gives you this really good instant gratification of completing something. And it's just like such a bad habit to get into because then like I'll get frustrated with myself. So I'm like, I'm not writing as fast as I should be. And it's like, no, you're writing at a realistic pace. You're just like not a robot that's doing this automatically. So anyway,
But you're better than the robot.
I am better than the robot. Thank you. Okay, so next question. Why does it feel like I can either get engagement or inquiries, but never both? What am I missing? This is a question for you, Sydney. It was written for
Mm.
you.
So engagement isn't always the goal, I would say. I feel like it's really easy on Instagram to get caught up in like the vanity metrics of like, oh, I got so many views and likes and follows. But if the goal is sales or clients, your metrics are going to look a little different. So like engagement is good. It helps the algorithm. It can start conversations, but I posted a post today and it only got like 5 likes or something, but I had 2 people DM me. There were no comments on it asking about like the offer I was talking about in the post. Engagement isn't the goal. Actually, I have a story. I did a discovery call with someone who told me she was posting content to get engagement and wondering why she wasn't getting sales, but it had nothing to do with any of her offers. It had nothing to do with like her buyer journey. And so being able to explain like, actually the process is this is like what we need to do because she was getting some money from views because she's an actual content creator as well, but she was trying to sell a course. I was explaining, well, if you want like that actual like long-term monthly revenue from your course or membership, like you need sales. And this is how we do it. We map out the journey. We're not relying on just engagement.
So is engagement the goal versus selling?
I would say I try to do it at like the earlier stages of like the whole buyer journey, like or a campaign or you're doing, because like that kind of what I call engagement content is kind of like the lighthearted trends that don't really get deep into like your USP too much maybe, but still kind of show like your personality and like some behind the scenes type of stuff where people can still get a sense of like who you are as a person and engage that way. And it's maybe like relatable, like, oh, I'm in your shoes. Like I also deal with this pain point and we can like make fun of it together. Or I also like these things and we can enjoy it together. So I think that comes early on. And then it's kind of turning that kind of engagement into a deeper connection related to how you work, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. I think I do like when I'm thinking about like email marketing, it's pretty similar for, where like, top of funnel, you're spending time like nurturing relationships with people. So that's when I have a lot of calls to action. That's like reply to this email. Like, what do you think? I've been playing around with polls inside my emails, which has been kind of fun. A fun way to like get feedback from people. But then like as they move through the process, then the calls to action will be like, here, buy my thing.
Yeah.
Here's the offer, right? Here's how this can help you. And then it cycles. And then you go back and you do
Mhm.
more engagement and you build those relationships and you start conversations with people.
Yeah. So I think like the engagement aspect is important because then once you have it and you're sharing about an offer, someone's more likely to be like, oh, you know what? I actually have a question about this or I want to hop on a call and like discuss it or something like that. I think they're more likely to do that because they know you more, um, having talked to you already, but it's not part of the actual like end game.
It's also like a good way to learn about your people and like what they're
Mm.
struggling with. And, you can post something that's like, here's something I'm struggling with. Are you also struggling with this? And that also builds trust.
Yeah, for sure. Are you finding that polls are working well for like engagement? I saw that feature in Flowdesk, but I've never used it.
I got a good amount of participants. Like I got like the same amount as like I would get as a click through rate for a page. And I asked people like, I was like, what are you struggling with? I'm going to do a podcast episode on this. And then it's like, one, I got some information about like where people are struggling. And then two, I was like, now I know what to talk about on my podcast. So I definitely want to play around with it some more. It was fun.
That makes sense. And it's also like a easy way to get engagement. Like they don't have to write out a full email or like thoughtful answer. They just like click a button.
And then you could see what other people click too. It's like always
Yeah.
fun doing a poll and being like, am I the only one that feels this way? Oh no,
Yeah.
25% of people feel this way too.
I always do when I have Instagram stories and use polls there. The last like option is always I'm nosy and I just want to see what everyone else is picking.
I love that.
It works. So many people do it, and then it, like, increases the engagement on my stories, which shows it to more people, which is handy. But again, even though I just said a whole spiel about how engagement isn't that important, not the end goal, but it is fun. And you do get some interesting market research from it.
I mean, it is important though, because if you're like, you need the humanness behind you as a service provider, right? Like if you aren't there engaging with people, then it's going to be a lot harder. That has like probably been my biggest challenge is figuring out how to like replicate this engagement since getting off of social media and like how do
Mhm.
I actually maintain these relationships? And so I've had to like be creative about and more intentional about actually talking to people that I want to talk to.
That makes sense. Yeah, I could see that for sure. Are you
So
doing more, like, offline engagement, like, in-person stuff or
I've been doing a little bit of in-person stuff. I've been doing a lot of collaborations. Like email is my number one thing. So a lot of like email swaps and getting to know people on coffee chats and then just showing up to like groups and stuff. Really like trying to find spaces where there's like values driven people and that they're really trying to like work in like a human first way. I've been leaning a lot into collaborations and then also being intentional about reaching out to people and maintaining relationships with people that I actually want to maintain relationships with.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, especially when everyone is seeing so much AI stuff. The human aspect is more important than ever.
Yeah. See, we're back at AI.
We are. It's always gonna happen.
It's interesting too. Like I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. They do CRM automation and it's like where's the balance between automating things and then also like still being a real person behind your business because I think sometimes there's like such a big push to like automate everything so you can scale your business and make everything easy and that's like the whole AI camp of like you just need 7 AI agents to run your entire business and it's like but where do I fit in
Right.
all of this and what's that balance? So yeah, I think that's super interesting.
It is. All I can think about is like, did you see that Reese Witherspoon thing about how she said women are gonna get left behind from not learning AI?
No, but I saw something on social media about it. I out of the loop.
Yeah, she posted a video and it got like a lot of backlash. Well, I saw a lot of backlash. I'm sure there are pro that video people. but like my feed is all mostly anti-AI stuff, or at least like mindful AI. And a lot of people were mad at her. And then someone figured out she actually is like in a partnership with some AI company or like tech company that has AI. And they're like, oh, now it makes sense.
What I did see today was that Anthropic was hiring a lead copywriter for 3K. So if you're listening and you don't know, Anthropic owns Claude, which I thought was like super interesting. Why don't they just use Claude to write all of their own copy? It just goes to show, right? Like that the people inside understand the limitations of their product and they understand that like, hey, we actually need to sell this thing and like it doesn't write good enough copy to sell it for us.
I was in a waiting room with my kids the other day, and they had like a whole bunch of kids' books that were like very obviously AI created, like copy and images, because the style of the illustrations changed like every 3 pages. It was wild to see. And then the story just didn't make sense at all. AI
That's
has
so
gone too
funny.
far.
It is so funny. Yesterday, my husband needed a like profile picture for Slack for his work, and he had a picture, but there was like a box in the background. And so he used AI to try to remove the box. I'm like, oh, he should have sent it to me. I could have Canva background removed it,
Right.
but he used AI to remove the box and it ended up removing the box, but it added a tattoo.
So he's a badass now.
Exactly. Yeah. Mhm. He's just like, why did he do that?
That's so random. Like of all the things.
Yeah. I was laughing. Yeah. Those are our questions, but do you have any other things that people have asked you recently?
I'm trying to think. I did just finish a challenge and there were questions in there, but now my mind is like blanking as to what they were. You had a challenge somewhat recently. Were there questions that people were coming up with there? I was in the challenge. I feel like I should also know that, but I also forgot.
The challenge was the No AI copywriting challenge. And a lot of the feedback I got was around just like how valuable it was to slow down and to actually like sit down and write something and not skip to AI and really force yourself through the whole thinking process, because I think that's like what's missing when people are using AI is like writing is a thinking process. Like that's what makes writing good is like that you actually marinate on things and you put a lot of thought into it. And so I think people realize like how valuable that was and like, but yeah, I don't know about questions.
I think, yeah, not necessarily questions, but a big topic that came up in the challenge that I did, which was for coming up with engaging content on Instagram, was having the confidence to do it because people kept feeling really burnt out, like they were putting a lot of time into creating content and putting it out there, but getting nothing from it, which is very, very common. But I think a thing to remember is one, when we talk about engagement, it's important, but it's not the end goal because we're not content creators, we're business owners. And two, the average engagement rate is actually like much lower than you would think. So even if you get like 1 or 2 comments, like you're doing great. You're doing better than most people. Like, don't look at like the giant influencers and like the really popular accounts as the frame of reference.
Oh, yeah. Like if I get a reply to my email, like you made my day, I'm excited.
I love those.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, they read my email and they responded.
Double whammy. Do you have any tips for getting replies to emails and getting that kind of engagement?
Ooh, it depends. I think just asking people questions and putting out the invitation over and over again and being okay with like if you get no replies, like not being like, okay, nobody's ever going to reply to my emails and just give up, like keep putting the invitation out there. A lot of times when I hear from people, it's because they've been engaging with my content for so long and then they're finally ready to be like, oh, hey, like now I'm ready to have this conversation or like, hey, this was super useful. So I would just say like, think about similar to content like what's the goal behind it? Do you want to engage people? Do you want this to be a sales email? And then make sure you have a clear call to action. And you can now like I think like with Flowdesk having polls, like there's different ways to play around with that engagement. So just like have fun with it and ask repeatedly because it's email is so different from social media where people are not really used to replying. And so it's I don't know.
That's true. I very rarely reply to emails.
I'm trying to think if there's like a specific email that I've had good replies on. A lot of the times it's like when I hold a free event and people are like, oh my gosh, I really want to come, but I can't. Can you send me the recording? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so glad you want to come. So
Whenever I email anything more values driven or about sending donations or something, I usually get replies. Sometimes they're nice, sometimes they're not nice.
Aw.
I remember someone once told me I had Trump derangement syndrome in a reply, so that was fun.
You were like, okay, unsubscribe.
Yeah, we're done here.
I think like to your point before about like even getting like one or two comments, like just because people are not replying or just because people are not commenting doesn't mean they're not reading it.
Yeah.
And that's the piece of like, how do you build those relationships? How do you build that trust so that people feel okay replying and feel okay? Like how do you build this environment that you're not like, they just want to like sell to me, which is like, yes, we're a business, but like also we're here to help you.
Right. Yeah. So I think it does take more relationship building. So that's where some engagement comes in handy. But also, if it is specifically a sales post, those are always going to get less engagement and less interaction, like every single time. Don't feel bad. It is what it is.
And that's okay.
And that's totally fine. It's normal. Like,
Especially if it's making you money.
yes, exactly. The one I posted today, this is the first time I've shared this offer. Yep, 8 likes, and that's it. No comments, but 2 DMs.
That's awesome. What a
So,
win.
yay. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, like, crazy interactions.
I know. I'm
But
trying to think like the things that like of all my LinkedIn posts this year, like what's gotten the most engagement was when I rant posted about health insurance. And not only did I get a lot of engagement on LinkedIn, I had like my work friends texting me being like, hey, I'm so sorry you're going through that. Like it riled people up. It really did. And so just like realizing like there's different types of ways of connecting with people and that's okay.
yeah, yeah. And I will say both of the people that DM'd me from this offer are people I have, like, talked to in the past. So, like, extra emphasis on, like, the human first approach and relationship building aspect.
I know. Yeah, I tell my clients that too. It's like you can write the best emails, but like if you're not actually having real conversations with people, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. Like all of your marketing works together to support your sales, and sales is the piece where you have actual conversations with people.
Which can be hard. I hate discovery calls, but I gotta do them anyway.
Oh yeah, I don't like to people, but like that's part of running a business.
You gotta. You just gotta.
Yeah.
Especially for, like, those big done-for-you type of projects.
Right. Like, yeah. And sometimes I have to have multiple calls with people. Sometimes it's like I have a call and then there's a proposal. And if it's like several $1,000s, like I understand that like you have questions that you need answered before you make this investment.
I certainly would. So, yes.
Exactly. And yeah. And you want people to feel comfortable and like it's the right decision. And that's also the role of your marketing.
Mhm.
All right.
Do you wanna share where people can get in touch with you or get your awesome free resource?
Yes. You can find me at stacybragacopy.com. You can join the email list on there. There's also a copy conversion check, which is a little rubric that helps you figure out what to fix in your copy. And then if you are listening to Sydney's podcast, check out Cozypreneur Podcast, where this will also be posted. All right, Sydney, your turn.
Perfect. You can find me at sydneyobrien.com. There's something called the Content Chaos Reset on there, which will help you plan your content. You can find me on Instagram at sydneyobrien.co. And if you're listening to this on the Cozypreneur Podcast, my podcast is called From Content to Clients.
There you go.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for chatting with me and ranting about AI always.
Again.
And if you haven't heard that episode, definitely go back and listen to it. We both have it on both of our feeds.
Episode we did together, which is about business coaching being MLM like, still my most popular episode.
It's one of mine. It's up there for sure. It's such a good one. I still get emails about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's been like, I don't even know how many months, but a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. That was last year.
Yeah. So worth a listen if you haven't heard it. Well, yes, thank you so much. And wherever you're listening, we look forward to you listening again. Thanks for hanging out with me on From Content to Clients. If this episode helped you think differently about your content, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's next. And if you're ready for content that's more strategic and less throw it together and hope for the best, head to sydneyobrien.com to learn more about working with me.